You know that feeling, right? That intense pressure to just rush through life because it feels like everyone around you is sprinting at 100 miles an hour? Well, if you've ever felt that, you are definitely in the right place today. Welcome to This Explainer. We're going to dive into a pretty amazing story about carpentry. And surprisingly enough, it actually holds the secret to making your major life decisions.
So, picture this. You've got a carpenter in a dusty workshop holding a sharp saw. In woodworking, literally, every action has an immediate physical consequence. You lift the blade, you make that downward motion, and that's it. You really can't uncut the wood. If you messed up the angle just because you were in a hurry, well, that beautiful, incredibly expensive piece of timber, it's completely ruined.
And here's the thing. The truth is, most of us rush through life because we're terrified of being left behind, right? We make these rapid, unchecked choices. But a single impulsive decision, just like that one bad cut with the saw, can irreversibly alter the trajectory of an entire life.
Okay, let's jump into section 1, the master and the apprentice, looking at two contrasting approaches to craft and life.
I want to introduce you to Oliver. Now, for 45 years, this master carpenter built homes that stood strong for literally generations. He wasn't some flash-in-the-pan sensation, not at all. He earned the unshakable, absolute trust of his community through decades of consistent, masterful work.
But his massive success, it wasn't just about the sheer amount of time he put in. People who visited his shop always noticed this one kind of strange habit. Before every single cut, Oliver always measured the wood at least twice, sometimes 3 times. Only then would he actually pick up his saw.
And this slow, deliberate method really got put to the test when a young, super confident apprentice named Jacob showed up. Now, Jacob was incredibly talented for sure, but he firmly believed that speed was the absolute ultimate secret to success.
Which brings us to section 2, the cost of rushing, and what happens when speed becomes a very expensive mistake.
So, while Oliver is over there carefully checking his boards, Jacob is just flying through his tasks, grabbing expensive beams, making rapid, unmeasured cuts, tossing them aside, rushing to get the whole shebang done. But then, sunset hits, and as they try to actually assemble the day's work, none of the beams fit. Boom. Days of work just completely lost. Jacob is bracing himself for a massive shouting match about wasted money, you know? But instead of yelling, Oliver just quietly hands Jacob another measuring tape, and he says, "Wood can be replaced, but careless habits become expensive." Wow. The real cost wasn't the timber at all. It was the dangerous precedent Jacob was setting for his own character.
Let's look at section 3, Built for the Storm, where we test the true strength of a foundation. So later that evening, trying to explain his method, Oliver sketches out 2 houses on a piece of paper. One has this gorgeous ornate roof but a super weak base. The other, it's simple but it rests on solid stone. He actually maps out the stones for Jacob. Discipline, honesty, patience, and responsibility. He explains that most people spend all their time decorating the roof for everyone else to look at, right? But very, very few take the quiet, invisible time to strengthen that solid stone foundation.
And sure enough, months later, a literal crucible tests the village. A massive storm strikes. Roofs are ripped right off, trees are crashing down, and newly built houses suffer devastating damage. But every single home Oliver had built, they remained standing, completely untouched. It proved, without a doubt, that those foundation traits weren't just abstract feel-good concepts. They were structural necessities.
The villagers gather around Oliver, just in absolute awe, asking him for his secret. Pointing down toward the ground, Oliver simply says, "I never built for sunny days. I built for storms." The crowd just falls silent. Because, as you can guess, Oliver wasn't really just talking about houses anymore. He was talking about how we construct our inner lives to weather inevitable hardships.
All right, section 4, a timeless philosophy, moving from carpentry right to our life choices.
That moment changed Jacob forever. He completely stopped his rushed habits and started checking every single detail. Years later, he opens up his own workshop, and he hangs a simple wooden sign out front that says, "Measure twice, live wisely." And decades later, long after Oliver was gone, that old workshop actually became a school, spreading this exact lesson to business owners, teachers, and parents everywhere.
In fact, when Oliver eventually retired, Jacob sent him a letter, and it read, "You never taught me how to build houses. You taught me how to build myself." Reading those words, Oliver smiled. He knew that shaping Jacob's character had always been his absolute greatest life project.
Look, life is going to throw thousands of decisions at us. So let's be absolutely clear on what this means. Wisdom is patience, it's preparation, and it's thinking before acting. It is not weakness, it is not some unnecessary delay, and it is certainly not fear. Actually choosing to slow down and really think, that is the ultimate form of wisdom.
Which brings me right back to you. I really want to challenge you right now, thinking back to Oliver's drawing. Which house lasts longer? The one with the flashy roof or the one with the stone foundation? Are you busy decorating your roof right now, or are you digging deep to build stone?
So what are you building today? Just take a second and think about an important, life-changing decision you might be standing right in front of at this very moment. Maybe it's a huge career shift, a major financial move, or even a relationship commitment.
Before you make that move, please don't rush just because everyone else is running. Give yourself permission to just take your time. Intentionally strengthen your foundation, your discipline, your honesty, your patience. Trade in that nagging anxiety of impulsive rushing for deliberate, patient decision-making.
Because here is the profound reality. The life you build tomorrow absolutely depends on the decisions you make today. We obviously can't control every single outcome life throws at us, but we have total 100% control over how carefully we choose our next step.
If Oliver and Jacob's story inspired you today, make sure to subscribe to Gravonix Stories and leave a comment below saying, "I will choose wisely." But before you go, I want to leave you with this final, crucial question. When the next storm hits your life, will your foundation hold steady, or will you regret the cuts you rushed through today? Go out there and build a great life, one thoughtful decision at a time.